In your words, how do you define leadership?
For me, leadership is always a vision, and some are born as followers and some are born as leaders.
There's a saying that goes by, you learn something new every day, and I think I just take it. Hey there! That time of the year has come when AIESEC in Sri Lanka drops the newest season of the one and only podcast in Sri Lanka to empower the young leaders of our community. So, to briefly introduce what AIESEC is an organization that strives for the development of value-driven youth leaders, focusing on empowering the youth to make a progressive social impact. And AIESEC in Sri Lanka podcast is an initiative of AIESEC in Sri Lanka to help the youth of Sri Lanka grow their influence and lead with confidence and humility. And to do that, we have partnered up with IFS to give the pinnacle of podcast experience to our audience. So to introduce myself, I'm Dustins Life, the podcast director of the National Showcasing team. If you have listened to at least one of our episodes before, we bring in people who have leadership values, leadership qualities, people who can empower, people who can encourage, people who can motivate young leaders to our podcasts. And today is without any exceptions. Our guest today, she is the founder and creative director of Raffealla Fernando Photography. She is a fashion and celebrity photographer. She is the co-founder of F. Inc. She is the creative director and founder of Sri Lanka's current and only celebrity calendar, RFCC. She works as a fashion consultant, stylist, fashion lecturer, and a creative concept developer locally and globally. She has a lot of awards to her name. She is 14 times award-winning fashion designer and a photographer, a winner of IAA Awards London as the best fashion photographer of the year. She is a finalist of the New York Fashion Awards. She has won the Special Jury Award at the IPA Awards New York, and she is ranked at 8th globally at BAFTA Awards. Hi, Raffealla.
Hi, Dustins.
I hope you're doing amazing today.
Yes, feeling pretty good.
All right. So, what's going on these days? How's your life? Any projects that you would like to, mention about?
Well, Dustins, like usually November, October is usually the RFCC time for me. So I shoot the calendar. So I've started shooting and still shooting, and then working on a couple of projects also for next year, because I personally like to prepare myself before getting into any sort of projects. So next year is going to be quite a busy schedule for, I think, me and my team. So those are what's happening these days. And apart from the exhibition, so I'm currently working on a book and then a couple of other workshop series that I'm planning to do next year. So that's it for me.
All right. So even with your busy schedule, I appreciate you being here and giving your presence here to our AIESEC in Sri Lanka podcast.
With pleasure.
All right. So as you know, AIESEC in Sri Lanka is an organization. We specify in empowering youth, and we talk about leadership. So according to Google, like if we take a definition, the leadership is the action of leading a group of people or an organization. But in your words, how do you define leadership?
Well, I see leadership as a vision. And to lead anyone, to mentor anyone, we need to have a perspective or like a vision of what we are going to do, or what we usually call a plan. So I think for me, leadership has always been a vision. And then leading a set of people, or, taking them forward in any form. I think having a good vision and a plan of what we are going to do next, and how we can be successful in it, or how to avoid any sort of downfalls or failures. That's leadership for me, having that proper vision.
All right. So you have a lot of experience in photography, I'd say. So with that, you have with the experience, with the knowledge that you gain, by utilizing the skills and developing those skills, you've become one of the leading photographers in Sri Lanka. So, as a leading photographer in the industry, would you say that leadership is involved in your career?
Of course, Dasun. I think leadership is involved in almost any career, even when we are students, when we are mentoring, and when we are in a certain respective career. So I think in photography, leading is very, how do you say, invisible, but you still do it. You still do it. You still lead your path, whether it's individual or whether it's a team. So for me, I started as an individual photographer. Now, of course, I do lead my team. So, but when I started photography, so it was always like, how do I lead myself forward? Because it used to be a male-dominated industry, but it's no more. It's a male-centric industry, and we are very happily very respectfully involved in a male-centric industry. And so I feel that's because of certain leadership qualities, we were able to bring it from male-dominated to male-centric. So leadership is definitely involved in photography, because when we do a certain project, or we work with like a certain agency or like organization or like a company, when we are given a certain job, we lead it forward. We don't just follow instructions and then do the project. So most of the time we take the lead, we prepare the mood boards, we prepare the concepts, then we lead the rest of the team, from starting from the makeup artist, model, the creative directors, to all these things. So leadership very subtly involved in my life. And because I usually don't see leadership has to be like one stage. It's like a one position. We gel up, we mingle with the rest of the people, and that's how we lead and go forward, So that's the kind of change we can bring in photography as well. And I think that has worked well for me, because I, as a creative person, I can't very correctly say this is the correct way of leading, because as long as it works for you, it is leadership. As long as it's not doing any damage to the rest of the people around you, it is leadership. So that's how it's incorporating into my career.
That's kind of like an eye opener for me. Like, most of us, when we think about, leadership, we normally look into, organizations and companies. So like, from your point of view, I think kind of we can understand that there are a lot of aspects and different aspects of leadership, and that was kind of like an eye opener for me. Yeah. So all right. So this is kind of like a small question. So how would you define conventional leadership?
Say conventional leadership always plays in the grays, I feel. So it's good. It has perspective. It has vision, like I said before. But it's very goal-oriented, and it's very strategic, and which is also important. But for me, I feel where you really, in conventional leadership, how you really get together and you always stay in that particular position, and the rest has to follow. And psychologically, not everyone is born as a leader, right? And some are born as followers, and some are born as leaders. So this combination needs to mingle well, camouflage well, once it's an organization. So conventional leadership, I feel, needs a little bit of more communication, but I personally think it's very important to have it, because being strategic and having that kind of structure in any sort of organization really gives that proper solid foundation. So conventional leadership is that for me, the proper solid foundation where it's not going to fall off at any cost, and it also helps others to stand still.
All right. So yeah, I actually know haven't seen a better definition for conventional leadership. So thank you for that. There's a saying that goes by, you learn something new every day. Definitely. And I think I just did. So thank you, Raffealla, for that. Yeah. So like, when it comes to leadership, you can categorize it in various ways. So for this episode, let's just categorize it. There's conventional leadership and there's innovative leadership. So in my terms, innovative leadership is a style of leadership that involves applying innovations and creativity to manage people and projects. Yes. So that is kind of like a straightforward definition for innovative leadership.
Yes.
But according to your words and with the experiences that you have, how would you define innovative leadership? How do you kind of elaborate on the term innovative leadership?
So, innovative leadership is something I stand by. And I like innovative leadership, Dasan, because there's so much empathy, so much communication, and space for conversation. So I just don't want to jump into a decision and be like, okay, this is my final decision, you guys follow. So I have a young team, I want to talk to them. So maybe they will have a perspective. Like I said, it's always vision and perspective. And the perspective I have will be completely different to what the rest of the team members will have to say. So I feel innovative leadership has led my brand to a certain level of success and understanding, because my brand definitely caters to the Gen Z mostly. And then again, it caters to the rest of the 3 other markets. So then understanding the market from their point of view, and then again, having that space for communication is very, very important. So then innovating or creating, I think that space for conversation, understanding, empathy. And I think the best example is, there was a time when, like, in conventional leadership, we usually say, even if you're like child or father, mother, whoever pass away, if there's a funeral at home, make sure you come to work the next day. That's how it works, because we are goal oriented. Nothing stops for anyone. So this is a concept we have been hearing for the longest time. So I don't agree with it. What I say is, if someone lose a loved person from their family, they shouldn't be at work. They should be with them, because if someone is not focused, that focus is not on my set. I don't want that attention, So, and that is not from a leadership perspective, it's from a human perspective, because everyone do go through problems. If the leader goes through a personal breakdown, they don't come to work. They'll be like, okay, today's cancel, you all go home. So that is the exact way that we need to do. So with innovative leadership, we go to that, like, where you don't be at your workplace as a boss. You be at your workplace with a bunch of friends. So that way the success is definitely guaranteed, because nobody wants you to go down the lane, They want you to reach the best level that you can. So I think that is the kind of innovative leadership I believe in, and it works for me. And it has always, like, I'll give you like example, because when I was 19, that was my first job. I was working at a very conventional leadership based office. It was amazing, very creative, but our ideas weren't heard. So there was a time, I think that was the first time I made like a big decision. I was 19 when I said, no, this is not the place. I'm not going to work under someone, not out of like a, because I had attitude issue or anything. I just didn't understand why my ideas weren't heard. So as a creative person, we scream out loud, whether it's heard or not. And that's exactly how we usually express, So because it's an expressive art form, so I walked off. And I now when I look back, I feel that's the best decision I ever made in my life, because I became my own boss when I was 19 years old. So I think that idea came to me through like some of the people that I associated at that time. Was lucky enough to work with those people, that this sort of leadership do exist and people do hear you.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, so like that's kind of inspiring for us, because like we are still getting educated, and we are set to step into the industry, to any industry in the future. So I'll keep that in mind. I think all of our audience should keep that in mind. So like from the let's say, not the definition, but from the statements that you made about innovative leadership, it sounded that innovative leadership is kind of flexible.
Yes.
So would you say having a flexible structure in an organization is more efficient than having a fixed structure in the aspect of being an innovative organization, in the aspect of like innovation?
I think yes, because flexibility comes from different aspects. Because say like, a bunch of people work together. how my mind works and how their mind works will be different, but it's a beautiful combination because they'll have better ideas than me at a point, because then being flexible is important, because when you have a fixed structure, we come at 9, we go at 5, and this is the strategy, this we stick to the whole month. You come to work, you go at this time, and this is exactly what you need to do. So you're trained, and that is not a human quality. You don't train like that. That is more a machinery, so your brain, your heart, your system is not a machine. You have feelings, you do work accordingly. And if a certain project you don't like, we have that freedom at my workspace. If there's a project that we don't stand by the idea of it, or we just don't like the whole feel of it, we always stand by, say no, because it's not the sometimes it's not the bills that we have to pay, it's not the money that we bring to the table, it's sometimes the values we have as an artist or bunch of artists. So that's why I said, like, being like you said, being flexible with this particular situation is very, very important, because at an office with a fixed say plan, you can't just walk off and be like, no, we are not doing this, we don't stand by the values of this. So, and that is, I feel, is very important, being flexible and being flexible in that particular environment, and being able to do the projects the way you want, because different creative people works differently, like being very frank, some people stress eat, some people drink, some people paint, some people go out, listen to music. So everyone brings out creativity in certain way. So at our office, you're like, you're not supposed to eat at this time, sit at this time, lunch hour is from 12 to 1. So how can you limit a person? Now, I'm a person, I stay late at night. I love to sleep in the morning, and then I like to work at night. So, but if I'm going to a workplace, I need to go by 9 and finish my work by 5. And then the time that I usually bloom as an artist is gone for a 6er, basically, because I'm not doing anything at that particular time. So I'm not going anywhere as an artist. So that's why you need a flexible structure for anyone. And that freedom has to be for anyone. It's not the boss. It has to be the same for everyone else, because everyone else will be a boss one day as well. So you mentor your team. So one fine day they say, I'm walking off doing my own brand, but many companies get offended by it. I would love if one of my, people who work with me say, okay, Raffealla, I want to walk off, start my own thing. I'll be the first person to be so happy, because you have mentored them to be leaders as well. So, which is very important, and which does not happen in a fixed situation.
Yeah. So, that's true, Raffealla. So, I heard you mention about value-driven leadership when you were actually talking about innovative leadership. So would you say being a value-driven leader is a part of being an innovative leader? Because our organization stand by developing value-driven leaders.
Yes, because value is in any form. Whether it's work, whether it's the human connections, to the kind of projects that we bring to the studio. So value-driven leadership is very important, because you start valuing things differently. Because something I always say is, Dasun, because we work so hard. We work so hard. Everyone works so hard, because the society, there's a rat race going on. And when we are a value-driven leader, we always try to get them out of that rat race. Why do you run with the rest of the people when there are so many other options to do? Because it's like following the same trend. Because if there's there was a time the devil mask was everywhere on each and every garment. Everyone wants it. Why wear the devil mask at that time? Wear something else. What I'm saying is, the moment we value certain things, from every little thing, it's different. Because from the rat race, if you don't really give attention, the rat race becomes a hamster wheel. You run on the same wheel over and over again, and the best time of your life is over. And when you look back, then you will be like, oh, now I'm almost in my 30s. What did I do in my 20s? Because you were running in that hamster wheel, So the rat race is still fine than running in a hamster wheel, because you're not going anywhere. It's just you're running in the same place over and over. So value-driven leadership is important, because you will always be guided to a certain way, because your value will be seen. heard and appreciated, because everyone's value is different, so my value is different. And if someone put me to say like a medical college and ask me to do something, I would know nothing. I'll be like, what do you do with this? But when I'm in my element, I know I'm good at this. So we need to value our talent, and that's very important. And we need to value the rest of the others' talents also. Understand it. If someone is not comfortable with certain things, we are not going to put them there. For an example, I work with someone who has social anxiety. That particular person can't speak in front of people. As a leader, if I throw that person and be like, it's okay, face your fears, talk in front of people, that person will be like bursting out in anxiety, going home and hating me for the rest of the life that I put him into that particular situation. So that's why I say value can be very simple things. It could be work, it could be money, it could be art, it could be human. So that's where I feel the value addition comes as a leader or the rest of the team.
Right. So for any human being, having some sort of values that you stand with and stand for is really important.
True.
Right. So so we talked about conventional leadership. We talked about innovative leadership, and I think we talked about why being an innovative leader is important. So innovation is one of the main aspects, I'd say, that influences the function and the growth of an organization. So to make sure that the growth of an organization is consistent, we must have a line of innovative leaders. So with the right training, influence, and motivation, do you think we'll be able to build or create innovative leaders within an organization?
Definitely can. Like I said, proper mentoring is very important, and you should get the people who are best at what they do and then guide them to do what they're best at. So of course you can create that environment, you can create that leadership in your organization if you really understand these things and listen. Like I always feel communication and conversation is going to lead you and take you very, very far. And so for innovation to get any sort of ideas, you need that brainstorming time. Maybe bunch of all of us get together and talk about a certain idea. All of us will have different ideas, and maybe with that, like some people say, oh no, this much of ideas, it will be like a fruit salad. It's not going to be. There's always like different elements that will add so much. So inside any organization, creating that element is very easy and important, and I feel it's a crucial point that you need to do that. Because now with the current situation of what we are facing, innovative is going to take you far, than like really limiting and telling do this, do that, So yeah, that's what I feel about it.
Right. So that's, I think, something that we should keep in our mind. I think what the points that you brought forward are really important for the function of an organization. I think innovative leadership is really important, like you mentioned. Yeah. So in the current context, out of the two that we talked about, conventional leadership and innovative leadership, what is more important? Like if you had to pick, if not, how would you implement leadership with conventional and innovative leadership in?
So I'm not going to paint this like drastic difference and be like, this is good, this is right. Because what I feel is any form of leadership is correct as long as it works for the organization. But with the current situation of what all of us are facing, I feel innovative leadership is important because it's empathetic. You listen to people. And I think having a leadership which also tally along with a person's mental health is also very important, which we don't see in conventional leadership, because if you're not good, you'll be kicked off. But in innovative leadership, if you fail once, you will always be given another chance. And it's very like we need to feel very comfortable with failure, Dasun. This is something I feel, because we always say no, like, we only work for success, we only want success in our life, and which is never going to happen. That is a big lie. Because we don't face only happiness and success in lives. We are definitely going to see downfalls and failures. So getting that particular leadership makes the entire team comfortable with failure. I have seen failure many times, and my team has too. And we are very comfortable with it, because when we succeed, we know this is our line of work. We are going to follow this, because that is the sort of innovation we do. Because if you're taking something which is already existing, that is not innovation. We are trying to create something there. So I feel it's important that innovative leadership is important, because there's more space for people to breathe than creating people to work like machines, like do this, do that, and then even if this happens, you come. And the worst case scenario, like last couple of months, and we saw this, like, if the company or the particular organization can't accommodate, they ask many of them to leave. So what happens to them afterwards? Finding a job becomes harder. So now these things are very empathetic, and their point is like, the company can't accommodate, we are helpless, we can't do anything. What happens to the person who walks out of that door after that, who is helpless with the current situation of the country? Nobody's going to hire them for some time, of course. So in innovative leadership, there will always be scope, like, if you don't have the space for another employee, so it will always be like, okay, like, we'll do like a freelancing project, we'll work on a project basis. So still you're not letting your team go, you will still hold hands with them even in the toughest time. And one thing you can guarantee, they will never leave you in your toughest time as well. So I think that human connection is very important, and that is only with innovative leadership. So because of that, I'm a bit biased towards it, because that's something I stand by. And yeah.
Right. So, like, Raffealla, in talking to you, like, I feel that you are an innovative leader, and I think it's not false if we say that you are an innovative leader, because you've done a lot of new things. Because like we mentioned in the introduction, you are the only one who produces a calendar called RFCC. So like that, for you to become an innovative leader, were there any role models or people who influenced you into that position?
Well, I think to start with, whatever I'm doing, my parents were the biggest pillars of support, and they have always been very supportive for me to do what I want to do. And then my grandmother as well, she's someone who really pushed me to do designing and photography and all that. So they were the first stage where they, like you say, the cheerleaders. So they were cheering me to move forward. And then again, I worked under Diane Gomez. So I think he's one of the best bosses that I've ever had. And after that, I never worked for anyone. That was the last time I worked under someone. So that says a lot. He made me step out, he mentored, he made me step out and be the person I am today. So, and those are very little things. I don't think he has even realized it, because I was very young, and I was seeing how a different sort of a leadership was happening, and I was experiencing it when I had like a very conventional situation also that I had faced. So I look up to him as a really good leader, because I've seen how he has built the other lives around him unknowingly. And that's exactly what a leader does. You don't do something and be like, oh, you're here today because of me. If you say that, you're not a leader. Because it has to be, okay, like, oh, I don't even know that person actually got something out of me. So that's something I feel. But starting to now, I think that's how people have been motivating, or like, I wouldn't say role model, but it has motivated me so much, because I personally don't like to keep a role model, because I don't want to be like someone else. I want to be my own kind of person and my own kind of category to work on to. So I don't have a role model, but these people have motivated me in my journey for me to look up to. And whenever I see a downfall, I do look up like, okay, what would this person do if he had gone through this situation? That's something I do as a motivated person by these personalities.
So, Raffealla, we've talked a lot about leadership, specifically innovative and conventional leadership. So, Raffealla actually shared her life experiences and her knowledge, opinions on specific points today. So, before we wrap up the first episode of AIESEC in Sri Lanka podcast, season 4, is there anything you would like to tell the audience right now?
I would like to say, if you're willing to be a leader, like I said, some are born to be leaders, some are born to be followers. Both are good, nothing wrong in it. So if you're planning to do something like that, always have a vision of what you want to do and where you want to be. And that's very important, that having a right vision. So work on that vision and work on your goals, and always remember that the sky is the limit and there's no limitations, there's no right or wrong, as long as it's like empathetic, human, and not causing trouble to anyone else. You should go wild with whatever you want to do in life, and that's very important to have that streak. And yeah, that's what I want to say.
All right then. So that marks the end of the first episode of the fourth season of the one and only Sri Lankan leadership podcast done by the youth for the youth. Raffealla, being one of Sri Lanka's renowned fashion and celebrity photographers, we know that you're a really busy person. Even with all the work that you have, we really appreciate you being here and conveying your thoughts and ideas. And good luck with all your future endeavors.
Thank you so much, and I wish you all nothing less and all the very best for the future project.
So that has been the first episode of the fourth season of AIESEC in Sri Lanka's podcast. Till we meet again with the second episode, signing as the host, I'm Dustins Life.